All right, well, today I want to tell you that the research that you've been doing is a lot like something we do as adults. If you remember the other day when I called your issues that you're studying hot topics, raise your hand. And then I said that, or actually Dylan said, my mom watches a show, or did you say she watches a show with a similar name? Or goes to a website? There's a website that's called that and a show that's called that. And so something we adults do, your parents and me, something we do is we often learn about important issues. Maybe nutrition issues or education or political issues. And we might watch a show about them. And then after we learn about that issue, read about it, watch a show, after we learn about it, what do you think we do?
Forget.
Yes.
They try and do exactly what the TV show does, like my mom.
You know what we do? We talk. We get in a group and we talk about it, just like you've been doing. We usually talk with our friends about it. Just today, Miss Nicole and I had a conversation about chocolate milk, our class topic we've been talking about. So when we learn about an issue, we often talk with our friends. I might talk with my husband about it. We talk about the issue and we say what we think. And we get into a little mini debate. And we say the reasons why we think something. And we might give some evidence to try to convince the other person to believe like we do. I wanted to actually tell you about a show I watched one time and then discussed with my friends. It was about Antarctica and how tourism is hurting Antarctica. And that's a topic I hadn't thought much about. And I watched this, and then afterwards, my friends and I talked about it, and one of my friends said, wow, people should really stop visiting Antarctica because the tourism is hurting the environment. And my other friend that was with us said, yeah, but Antarctica is one of the most mysterious and unique places on Earth. How can there not be tourism there? And then my other friend answered back, and it continued like that for a few minutes. And then finally, the friend who started the conversation said, I think we need to find out more about this. We need to find out exactly how many people are visiting Antarctica and exactly what type of damage is being done and what are the long-term effects of this damage. So when we had this debate about this topic, we learned about it, watched something, had a debate about it, and then we had more questions and we wanted to know more about it. So today, as you are researching, you might, and you're actually going to have a little mini debate at the end of reading time, after you are done researching. And when you're talking with your group, you might have some other questions, because when you are talking with other people about an issue, that debate can lead you to thinking about what else you need to find out. What are the questions you have? We've been to practice this mini debate. We're going to practice it on the topic of chocolate milk in schools, whether there should be chocolate milk served in schools. And you are going to practice within your research group. So just take a moment and read a few of our notes that we've taken as we've been reading articles. Read a few of the notes, and some are over here. You probably didn't have time to read all of them. Now take a moment and decide right now in your research group who is going to argue for chocolate milk and who is going to argue against. And it might not be the way you really feel, because you need to have one person, or actually you're going to, if you have 5 people, how many will be arguing for, class? 2 or 3, and 2 or 3 against. If you have 4 people, it should be what? 2 and 2. If you have 2 people? So really quickly decide who's going to be on which side. Okay, time's up. So now I'm going to give you just a moment, just a couple, actually I'll give you about a minute. Listen to what you need to do in this next minute. You are going to come up with your argument that you'll present to the other people in your group. And you might want to structure that argument like this. You'll want to say, I take the position that chocolate milk should be served in schools, chocolate milk should not be served in schools. And you need to, and then you'll say because. So you'll think of one reason. Now you're not going to start debating yet. Right now you're going to think of what you're going to say. So you need to think of one reason. You might use some of the evidence to think of that reason. So as you read some of the evidence here, you might think, oh, so a reason that chocolate milk should not be served in schools would be, and it wouldn't be word for word this, but it would be the idea that this evidence makes you think. So when you read a piece of evidence, that might make you think something about chocolate milk and why it should not be served in schools. So think of your number one reason why, and then find some evidence up here. And these are full of evidence that we have found. Think of what reason would convince the other people in your group and what evidence you're going to say. So plan what you're going to say and think about how you're going to say, I take the position that chocolate milk should be served in schools or should not be because, for example, so be ready to give some evidence. Think right now about what you're going to say. Now, if you have, there's more than one of you probably planning it, so you can help each other. Help each other decide what you're going to say. If there's more than one of you, that's going to argue together, okay? Decide what you're going to say for your argument.
Can we use something that's not
Okay, one person will talk at a time. And you'll start with the side that's arguing for chocolate milk in school. So that person will start. Listen closely because when we're done with this debate, after 1 minute, then the other person will go. Listen closely because when we're done with this debate, you will have an opportunity to tell the other person or the other people in your group what you think their strongest piece of evidence was. So listen as the other person is saying their point of view. Listen for what the strongest piece of evidence is that you hear. So the people that are arguing for it in schools, go ahead and go first with your reason and evidence. So what you're going to do today is you will do more research and reading, and you might have a new article in your bin. You also have articles on Google Classroom. So when you go to your Google Classroom, you can find your topic, and there are articles there. You are mainly going to be reading for one side of the issue today, because at the end of your reading time within your group, half of you will argue for one side and half for the other. So you need to decide within your group right now who's going to be for and against. And listen to this. What you argue for today might not be the side that you argue for another day. So, for example, in Sam's and Olivia's group, if he chooses 4, what's your issue again?
If water bottles should stay and not be you should still be able to have bottled water.
Okay, so if he decides he's going to argue that there should be no bottled water anymore, but he really believes that there should be bottled water, is that okay? Yeah. What do you think, class? Yes. Yeah. You might be, because your group has to do half and half, so you might be arguing on the side that you don't really believe in. But that doesn't mean you have to write about that side. When we go to write, and tomorrow you might start writing your argument, when you write about your argument, you can write what you really believe and the reasons why. Today, half of you will argue one side and half of you the other, and it might not be the side that you will argue next time. So we're going to be flexible thinkers, and we can think and we can find reasons for the other side, even if it's not the side that we truly believe in. We can read about that side and find reasons. And I have found some really good articles that are for and against your issue. So take just a moment now and decide in each group who will be on which side of your issue. So you'll want to have probably more than one reason. And then under each reason, do you think one piece of evidence would be good to support that reason? 2. Do you think you might find more than 2 pieces of evidence to support each reason? So as you're taking your notes, take notes today mainly on that one side that you're going to debate on. If you find some good information on the other side, do you think you can take a note about that too? What do you think?
Yes.
You can. You could take notes still on the other side too, but most of your notes today should be on the side that you're going to debate. And you girls thinking of reading an article that you've already read? Is there one you're in the middle of, or reading a different one?
We were going to read a different
Read a different one? Okay. And you're looking for...
What about dangerous?
what is the reason? What's your number one reason, do you think, that we need to protect sharks?
I think we want to protect sharks because overall 1 million sharks are killed per year.
And overall, more sharks die from humans than humans die from sharks. And if sharks are, and if sharks they don't mean to hurt humans. They think their hand is like a fish.
Okay, you have a couple reasons there, I think. Maybe you should jot down, and what you were saying, Emma, was more of a piece of evidence to support that reason, right? I think before you read, you need to write down 2 of your top reasons. Mason and Colton do the same thing. So set your Chromebook aside for a moment, open to your page where you're going to write your reasons and evidence, and decide on what your top reason is. Okay, so I was going to ask you, why do you think, for this debate today, why do you think extreme sports are not worth the risk? What would you say?
Because you can kill yourself or hurt yourself or
People
break a bone.
people can
And just because
kill
you have
themselves or hurt.
pads doesn't-
People might get hurt badly.
But the pads don't help
don't really
Okay,
help. They
so that
help
could be a piece
little.
of your evidence. You've read some about that, haven't you? So one of your main reasons that extreme sports would be not worth the risk. Let's start a new page just for your debate for today. You're adding that piece of evidence there. You already have quite a bit of evidence against extreme sports, don't you? You've read a story about it. So one of your stories that you read about someone getting hurt, that would support. So what would you say a main reason would be that extreme sports are not worth the risk?
Just because you have pads doesn't mean you can't get physically hurt.
Okay. Do you think that part about just because you have pads doesn't mean you could get hurt? Cody, do you think that would be your main reason, or a piece of evidence supporting the reason? Evidence? So the reason that extreme sports are not worth the risk would be what?
You can hurt yourself.
Okay, you can hurt yourself. Do you think you'll have a lot of evidence for that?
Yes, a lot.
So what's your claim, Zachary? And do you really feel that way? Okay, so what's making you think, from what you've read so far, what's making you think that animals should not be kept in zoos?
Because you could separate them from their families, and then they would kind of be like depressed because they would have no one to be with that they know.
Okay.
And then
So one of your reasons could be that animals, what? If they're in zoos, they could get separated from families and depressed? What were you thinking?
There's like some parks, like marine parks, where they like force sometimes whales and dolphins and let's go the crowd.
So animals get forced to do tricks or forced to do unnatural things. So you have 2 reasons. Do you want to both write those down? So Sydney, you repeat yours. You can both write that. And then maybe halfway down, you should start a new page with these reasons. Halfway down the page, you can write Zachary's reason. And then under those reasons, you can write more information about that. So you could tell where that's happening or what kinds of animals. So if your reason is animals are forced to do tricks, then you could tell what kind of animals and where, what you've learned about that. What are you finding in this article? You finally...
A lot of stuff. It's actually we want to keep plastic bags because you can make your fencing and playground stuff with
Okay.
them.
Okay.
With it.
Okay.
That's all we
Okay.
And then
So when it's time to debate and you have to say why plastic bags should be not banned, what's going to be one of your main reasons? Okay, those might be pieces of evidence though. So why would it be a reason? What's your reason? What are you thinking your reason would be?
that they're reusable and recycling.
That we can recycle them and reuse them? And then are these pieces of evidence that would support that? When you're writing these pieces of evidence, are you writing them exactly how they're here? Or are you putting them into your own words? Kind of, exactly? What do you need to do if you're writing something down? Write it in your own words, and you have each other to talk to, so you can talk about how to write it, right? Okay. Go first. And you'll be in your group, so you'll be sitting down in your group. People for protecting sharks will go first, okay? You will have about 2 minutes. What will you do? What will you do in your 2 minutes? You'll have 2 minutes to debate, so what will that look like? Emily, tell the class.
We
You can turn around.
a reason and some evidence,
Can you hear him back there?
and they can counter or.
So in your 2 minutes, you have 2 minutes to give your reason or reasons. You have 2 minutes to give your reason or reasons and evidence for those reasons. If you just give reasons, your argument won't be strong, but if you give some evidence, it will be stronger. And then I'll say switch, and the other side will go. If you're doing extreme sports, the side that's saying they're worth the risk will go first. Okay? For plastic bags, you two that think we should ban them will go first. For bottled water, which one of you thinks that we should ban the bottled water back there? Sam, so you'll go first. And for zoos, where are the zoo groups? Raise your hand. People that are saying animals should be kept in zoos, that zoos are good, you will go first. The other people, if you're not presenting, what are you doing? Preston, what do you think you're doing when the other people present? Yep. Listen for good evidence, because you might write from that angle and from that side. Listen for some of the good evidence that they're sharing, because you might take another side from the one that you are taking today.
Another reason
Can you
that
hear
we
okay?
have is more sharks die because of humans than humans die because
Do you agree with Adriana that people are getting killed? Okay, and she told a place where people are getting killed. Okay, Will is going to... So think about your issue. Think about if you... Girls, listen. Turn this way. Your eyes should be on me. Turn your whole body. Think about how you are thinking now and what you're believing about your issue right now. You probably have some notes on both sides, and you've thought about both sides. So think about where you stand on your issue and what your claim would be. If you were to write about it right now, what would you say? Would you be for or against? What would you say about your issue? What would your main reasons be? And what would be some examples and some evidence? Tomorrow during writing time, you will be writing what your claim is just from the notes you have so far. So it will be a flash draft. It won't be a final draft. You'll write what you think right now and why, your reasons and your evidence. And I might ask you a little bit about what you're thinking during your reading time, your independent reading time that you have right now. So for independent reading time, you may read your book. And what will you need to have with you? Hold on. When you read, what do you need with you? What do you need to write in right away? Zachary?
Your reading log.
So you'll have your reading log. You'll start reading right away. But you're going to bring one extra thing. You're going to have, what do you think you're going to have? Journal. Have your reading journal with you too today in case I sit down and want to ask you where you're standing on your issue and what your reasons and evidence are. Okay, so book, reading log, journal, and get started with reading. Your issue is what?
Animals are dying because of plastic bags.
Okay. So when you write about this issue, are you going to say you think plastic bags should be banned or plastic bags are okay?
I should say that plastic bags should be banned.
Should be banned. And is that going to be one of your reasons that animals are dying? Okay.
Yeah.
What's some of your evidence that you have for that?
Plastic bags are wrapping around the animals' bodies
Okay.
and suffocating them to death.
Okay. Did you
Yeah.
find that in one of the articles that you read?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also that some animals are eating them and then blocking their digestive tract
Where is this happening? Is this happening on land or in the water?
in the water.
In the water. And where did you find that out?
At,
You can show me in your notes if you have it in, or
it's
let's
where's
get
the
that over here.
plastic bag articles?
What's it these?
I use this one.
Okay.
It said that other animals are strangled by wrapped around their bodies, and thousands of marine animals are dying, including sea turtles, because of plastic bags.
Okay. So that would be two pieces of evidence there to support it. Yeah. And are you going to be for
I'm going to be for
to keep the bottled water or to ban the bottled? To keep it. Okay. And why are you thinking we should keep it?
Because it's easy to grab and go, and it doesn't have any calories. And if we ban bottled water, people will start to drink more sugar products like Diet Pepsi and Coke.
That's some strong evidence there. If we didn't have, because if people go to a vending machine and they're planning on getting water, but there's not water there, then they would choose something that would be not as good for them, right?
Yeah. And they said that they needed to test they needed to test tap water because they wanted to make sure that there was no chemicals or germs in it, so people can be safe. So at some places like maybe South Africa, they probably don't have good tap water, and whenever they drink it, they would either get really sick or they would probably die.
So you've named more than one reason, haven't you? If you were to just kind of summarize what you just said and think about your main reasons, what would be one of your main reasons? So not all the details about it, but just the reason. What's one reason we should keep?
Isn't healthy.
Okay, and then you could go into more detail about that. And then what would be another main reason?
Bottled water doesn't have any calories.
Okay. And then when you expand on that, what would you talk about?
We would talk about how it doesn't have any calories and how it barely has any sugar in it.
You could compare it to some other drinks that people would choose. You said something about if you ban bottled water, then people would choose those other sugary drinks.
Yeah.
So that would be related to that reason, right? That would be evidence for that reason. Sounds like you're organizing your ideas and your reasons and your evidence.